and the marriage was registered in Cook County, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yes.
There were 2 children born as a result of your marriage, and both of those children are emancipated. Is that 1979 in Skokie, Illinois, and the marriage was registered in.
Oops. And folks, did I just hit a button that I shouldn't have?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know, Judge.
So luckily you can hear me now. What I did, by the way, was I put the live stream on YouTube, and I might have screwed up the audio on that for a little bit. So Ms. Vanderwood, could you please, Madam Court Reporter, what was the last question you heard?
There were 2 children born as a result of your marriage, and both of those children are emancipated.
Okay, so we've taken care of the 2 kids being born and emancipated. Please ask your next question. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. No children were adopted. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you are not now pregnant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, Robin, you and David have lived separate and apart since October of 2018. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have irreconcilable differences caused the irretrievable breakdown of your marriage?
Yes.
And have you and David attempted to reconcile?
Yes.
Were your efforts successful?
No.
Would future attempts at reconciliation be impracticable and not in the best interest of either of you?
Yes.
Do you consider your marriage to be over?
Yes.
Now, Robin, you and David have entered into a marital settlement agreement, which was dated June 9th of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you signed that signature on page 16. Is that correct?
Yes.
And David had also signed that signature. And Stephen, are you stipulating to his signature?
We are stipulating the signature, Robin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And Your Honor, I am going to read into the court record some of the pertinent provisions of this agreement.
You're welcome to.
Thank you. In this agreement, David is waiving his right to maintenance from you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And David at this time is employed and he is self-supporting. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have a little bit of a different maintenance situation for you. Based on David's contention that he anticipates selling his dental practice and retiring in the next 6 months, we've agreed that for the next 6 months, you would not receive any maintenance payments from David. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we're calling that the first 6 months. The following 6 months, the issue of maintenance will be reserved, and we call that the subsequent 6 months, for a period of an additional 6 months. In the event that David is continuing to work as a dentist, you would then have the right to come to court and ask the court to review your maintenance position. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the first 6 months you are not receiving maintenance, and then the following 6 months, if David is still employed, you do have the right to ask the court to review the maintenance. And if you do not come back to court during the subsequent 6 months, at the end of that 6 month period, you are forever barred from receiving maintenance. And do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, with regard to health insurance, you and David each have your own health insurance. Is that correct?
Yes.
The two of you have a marital residence in Skokie, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the two of you agree that this house will be placed on the market for sale jointly, and that would be on or before June 1st of 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the two of you can agree on an alternate date in writing if you so choose to place the house on the market. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, during this period of time, David will be residing in the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And David will be solely responsible for the payment of certain expenses and obligations, which we have outlined in this paragraph. Is that correct?
Yes.
There is no mortgage on the house, correct?
Yes.
And so, excuse me?
That's correct.
Okay. And David will be solely responsible for payment of the utilities and real estate taxes and homeowners insurance due subsequent to September 1st, 2020 until the sale of the property. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the funds will not be taken from his business bank account. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any real estate taxes and homeowners insurance due prior to September 1st, 2020, and any repairs and maintenance to the property in excess of $500 that are agreed upon by the two of you or recommended by the realtor will be paid from his business account at Bank of America. Is that correct?
Yes.
So subsequent to September 1st, 2020, David will be solely responsible for certain expenses that will not come out of the Bank of America account. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, upon the sale of the property, after payment of the closing costs and other expenses, the net proceeds will be divided equally between the two of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And David will receive any deductions and credits that are associated with the house for tax purposes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, there is also what we would call business condo. That's where the dental practice is. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's also in Skokie, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this piece of property will either be sold with the sale of the dental practice or separately. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this property will be listed for sale no later than September 30th of 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the two of you will be involved in the sale of this property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to the expenses, the real estate taxes, again, there's no mortgage on this property. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the real estate taxes and insurance and utilities and any repairs that are agreed upon by the two of you in excess of $500 will be paid from the business Bank of America account. Is that correct?
Yes.
And upon the sale of this property, after the customary closing costs, the net proceeds will be divided with you receiving 50% and David receiving 50%.
Yes.
Again, David will receive any deductions and credits allowed from this property. Is that correct?
Yes.
And David, of course, has possession of this because it's his business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, Article 5 of this agreement, we have listed various retirement accounts that you and David have. Is that correct?
Yes.
And those will be divided equally as indicated in this article. Is that correct?
Yes.
There is just one add that we need to discuss. There is a provision later on in this agreement with regard to the life insurance and how that's going to be divided. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's cash value in that life insurance.
Yes.
And in order to equalize the cash value, David will receive an additional $21,818 from his Fidelity IRA, and that's to equalize the life insurance. Is that correct? Article 6 of this agreement has other financial accounts and the division of those accounts between you and David. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Article 7 is the life insurance. And again, there are two life insurance policies with AXA, and you're keeping one policy, David's keeping the other, and we are equalizing the cash value from the retirement as we just indicated. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're keeping your 2011 Subaru as your vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
David is keeping his 2012 Ford Escape as his vehicle.
Yes.
You have divided your household articles, correct?
Yes.
And each of you will keep what's in your possession.
Yes.
There is a certain coin collection that David will have possession of. It is marital property, and we have indicated how that will be divided, possibly sold. Is that correct?
Yes.
With regard to debts and liabilities in Article 10, you'll be responsible for any debts and liabilities in your name since the two of you separated, which was October of 2018. And David will be responsible for any debts and liabilities in his name since the separation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, there is the issue of the dental practice, and that's Article 11, and that is marital property. David is in the process of selling this practice, and you will be informed of any viable candidates. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's going to also attempt to sell this with the business property.
Yes.
If on or before September 1st, 2021, there are no viable purchasers for the practice, David will proceed with the sale of his client list and equipment. Is that correct?
Yes,
And all of the proceeds from the sale of this practice will be divided equally between you and David. Is that correct?
yes,
Now, the two of you have also filed joint tax returns throughout the years. Is that correct?
yes,
And I believe you have already filed the 2019 returns,
yes,
and the refunds have been divided. Is that correct?
I believe the refunds go toward the next payment. I don't have the documents in front of me.
All right, well,
I think the answer is yes.
so the agreement is that they're supposed to be divided equally between the parties, Your Honor.
Yes,
And also in this agreement, you've agreed to pay your attorney's fees and David has agreed to pay his attorney's fees. Is
Yes.
that correct?
yes,
Now, Robin, this is an agreement that we've negotiated over a number of months. Is that correct?
yes,
And we've made many revisions to this agreement.
yes,
We have exchanged financial information. We have done formal discovery. We've done some discovery, not so formal, but do you feel confident that you have all of the information you need to make this decision?
yes,
And have you read the agreement carefully?
yes,
Do you understand each and every provision?
yes,
And are you satisfied with its terms?
yes,
And are you asking Judge Simonian to incorporate this agreement into any such judgment that may be entered today?
yes,
And if you so desire, you may resume the use of your maiden name, which is Burack, B-U-R-A-C-K.
yes.
No further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Vanderwood. Mr. Minor, do you have any questions for petitioner?
I do not, Judge.
Thank you. The court finds it has subject matter jurisdiction and personal jurisdiction over the parties. They were married on April 29th, 1979 in Skokie, Cook County, Illinois. They've been separated for at least 6 months. At least one of them has lived in Lake County for 90 days before filing the petition. 2 children were born to their relationship. Both are adults now. There's no minor children left to their relationship. Petitioner is not pregnant. Court finds it's been proven that irreconcilable differences have caused the irretrievable breakdown of the marriage, and efforts at reconciliation would be impracticable and not in the best interest of the family. Court finds the parties have entered into a written marital settlement agreement, which the court has reviewed. Court finds the property settlement is not unconscionable. The division of marital property and debt and non-marital property and debt is fair and equitable and memorialized in the marital settlement agreement. Court finds the parties have agreed to waive any claim of, excuse me. The court finds the maintenance terms are stated precisely in the marital settlement agreement. They've been outlined by Ms. Vanderwood. They're agreed upon by the parties, and the marital settlement agreement stands as the agreement on the maintenance. And the court refers back to the marital settlement agreement. That's in Article 2, page 4 and 5 of the marital settlement agreement. Court refers back to that as the agreement of the parties. Petitioner may, but is not required, to resume the use of her maiden name of Burack, B-U-R-A-C-K, if and when she so chooses. Folks, the clerk will will send you back a copy of the finished documents here. Is there anything anybody wishes to add before the court enters judgment of dissolution of marriage?
No, Your Honor.
And
No,
Mr.
Judge.
And Ms. Kaplan, what I'm doing now is I am signing the judgment of dissolution of marriage. This completes the process of divorce for the parties. My best wishes to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Have a good day, Your Honor.
You too.
Thank you, Judge.
Now is so Mr. Lazar just left. Did he get a new date or something?
Yes, he already has another approval date, so.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Little. Oh, see. Good morning, Ms.
Thank you,
Little.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Good morning, Judge.
You get, good morning. You had perfect timing. Literally just got done with one and another lawyer got a new date. What are we doing on Fernandez in Clara Leguizamo?
So we would like to prove it up. We're on Monday's trial call. We're working out last minute issues. We thought we were done. There's one last issue where husband agreed and then said, well, actually, can we switch the percentage? So if you would be kind enough to give us a little more time, we'd like to check in with you a little bit later this morning and see if we can get this done.
Okay. We'll see you a little bit later this morning then.
Great. Thank you, Judge.
Thanks. Then we literally don't have any other, I don't think we have any other attorneys present other than Ms. Coleman here regarding the Kowalik and Tate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to admit somebody just to be able to get their names, okay? So it's a little different, but that's what I'm doing because I need to know that. And whoever is 224627, what is your name, please?
Brianna Palmer.
Okay, because I do want to know, because I want to know so I'm able to know who all's here. I'm still trying to get everybody in. One moment, please. I'm going to get back to you when we're done with something else. And whoever is, it looks like 778 as 847-778. What is your name, please?
My name is Elisabetta Bukataru, Your Honor.
You. Thank you. I'm going to, again, get to some other cases, but now at least we've got you named appropriately. Next, we have, so we've got everybody labeled. Now, and we've got everybody labeled. Who knows when Fernandez is? Mr. Lazar, you said was continued. Is that correct, Ryan and Ryan? Was right with Mr. Lazar, was that, you said that was continued? Ryan and Ryan was continued? No. Oh, Mr. Lazar is.
So Mr. Lazar continuing 24. Oh, Ryan, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Oh, yeah, there's another guy whose first name is Ryan. I know. So then, other than the fact that Lindsay's in the waiting room on Tate and Kowalik, they're all pro se's left. Other than the fact that we're going to get the Fernandez and whatever. Okay. Now, do you want to talk with the folks? Well, let's see who's ready. Well, let's first see if those are okay. Leonard and Booze. Let's see if this is a okay. My occupation is at an Army/Walmart. Okay, so Leonard can put that aside. Homer, Bukaratu, who's both present. We can take also. And put. And Devine, Ryan, Nicole, they can also we've got 3 parties left. All are responsible for payment. And that is
No, I haven't.
Carolyn Leonard.
Got it.
Okay, then do you want me to then admit
Put them on and then I can-
Carolyn Leonard, Ms. Booz, Ms. Palmer, Ms. Bukaratu, Mr. Davini. And all of them folks, there's a obviously things are a little bit different here today because you're not in a courtroom. And because you're not in a courtroom, you don't know that the case is set to finish today, and we can finish today, but the person who filed it to complete the process of divorce does have to pay, if you're not looking at the sign, of course, the prove up fee for the transcript. And that's to the court reporter. That's not through the clerk's office, of course. That's to the court reporter. And she's to my right here. And it's not that's going to be through her that you're going to do it. Frankly, it's a direct payment. People usually use like a Venmo or a Zelle or something like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a recess, and she's going to talk to the petitioner in these cases. And then once that's done, we'll get on to the business of completing the divorce. So, well, the court will be in recess right now.
Mr. Davini,
Right here.
do you have Zelle?
I'm sorry.
Do you have Zelle for your bank?
I believe I do. Yeah, I have PNC, so I think I can set that up.
Okay. And Mr. Leonard?
Leonard?
Mr. Booth?
Leonard is here.
Okay. Do you have Zelle? Mr. Leonard?
Yes, I can get Zelle. I don't have it, but I can get Zelle.
I need to have it now before later.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Mr. Palmer, is it, or Mr. Bucati? Mr. Palmer?
Ms. Palmer, hi.
Is it Mr. Palmer?
There's a Brianna Palmer and Miss Palmer.
Miss Palmer?
Yes.
Do you have Zelle in your bank?
No, I don't.
Do you have Venmo?
I don't have a Venmo. But I was already told that I paid all my fees.
Pardon me?
I was told that I had paid all my filing fees.
This is court reporter fees on the transcript. It's $75.
Your Honor, is there a way that I can pay it?
What? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is there a way that I can pay it? I will soon be Brianna Palmer's ex-wife. Is there a way I can pay it since I have Quick Pay with Zelle?
Oh, you do have Zelle. Okay, that's fine. What is your phone number, please?
My phone number is 847-778-2312.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so, and Mr. Leonard, Miss Leonard,
Yes.
did you get your Zelle?
Yeah, I'm getting Booz's Zelle right now because I don't have it, but she does. For some reason, it's not allowing her to connect. So I don't know, it might be technical difficulties, but
what is your phone number?
847-489-5772.
So it's being processed, did you say?
Say again, ma'am?
I'm sorry, is it being processed, your Zelle?
No, I'm getting Sarabian's Zelle because I don't have the app, so she's going to give me her information.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I don't have Zelle. I don't have the app, so Sarabian has. Oh wait, do you need her number in order to do it that way?
I have